Gilpatrick, and we're on week 2 of at-home learning for art projects here in my kitchen. So, the thing we're going to be making today is a salt paint pineapple. Okay, you're going to have to look for some of these things in your kitchen and ask Mom and Dad first, but we're going to be using glue, salt, and watercolors. And if you don't have watercolors, I'm going to show you how you can use food coloring in replace of that. But if you don't have any of those things, don't worry. You can absolutely just use a pencil or something to write with to draw your pineapple and then color it with what you have at home. So let's get started today. Hi everyone! Okay, today we're going to be making a salt paint pineapple. And as I said already, if you have some of the things we're going to be using today, like salt, liquid glue, and watercolors, or you can actually use food coloring. If you have any of these things, then you'll be able to do our salt paint pineapple just like I'm going to show you on this black piece of paper. But if you don't have those things and all you have is maybe something to write with like a pencil or a crayon, then draw your pineapple how I'm going to be showing you with my other things on the black sheet of paper. You can absolutely draw it with a pencil, and then you can color this in with crayons, markers, watercolors, anything else. You don't have to make this into a salt paint pineapple. You can absolutely just draw your pineapple, add details the way you would like with the supplies you have. But if you do have the things that we are going to be using today, let me go over the supplies. We are going to be using a black sheet of paper. You can use any colored construction paper you want, but I chose black because it will be really just a great contrast to the colors we're going to be using. And I'm going to use a white crayon because white on top of this black will allow us to see the lines clearly. And we're also going to be using any type of liquid glue. If you watched last week, I went to the store and I got some liquid glue instead of just the glitter glue I was using, so that's great. We're also going to be using salt. Okay, so kids, make sure you ask Mom and Dad before you grab the salt out of the kitchen. But we're going to be using salt today, and I'll show you how we're going to use that in just a minute. And then we're also going to use watercolors, or you can use food coloring. Now, kids, if you're using food coloring, ask Mom and Dad. Parents, be sure to be careful with your kids with this because it does stain clothes and fingers. So you can absolutely use this, but it's a little more tricky and you might need a parent to help you with that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And so first thing you need to do is make sure that your paper is turned portrait. We do not want it in landscape because our pineapple is going to be tall. And so just make sure your paper is turned the correct direction. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to draw a oval shape. This is the bottom of our pineapple. Okay, so using your white crayon, let's make an oval shape. It takes up about half of your paper. Okay, next we are going to draw the leaves coming off of our pineapple. So it almost looks like an ear or a horn. So I'm going to do one going up and then down this way. Next, I'm going to come to about this point on this leaf right here, almost like the middle part of this leaf, and I'm going to go this way with another leaf, and then I'm going to come down and let it meet on our pineapple base. Okay, next I'm going to come right here to the middle of this leaf, and we're going to go a little bit higher and let it come down and meet right here with this leaf. Okay, you see how we're kind of stacking it almost like scales, almost like scales on a fish. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing about halfway on this leaf. We're going to go up and then let it come down and meet with that one. Okay, we're going to do this pretty much as high as it'll let us go, so I think I have enough for 2 more. Okay, and then one final, this one's going to be kind of small and short. Okay, so I had enough room for 6 leaves, 3 on this side, 3 on this side. If you had room for more, or if yours were taller and skinnier, or if they looked a little bit different, that is totally fine. All of you guys know that if your artwork looks different than mine, that is absolutely okay because we're different people and we have different artistic abilities. Okay, so we are going to now make some textured lines on our pineapple. So I'm gonna go diagonal. I'm gonna do some diagonal lines from the right to the left. Maybe like 4 or 5, however many. Yours can be closer together, yours can be further apart, that's totally fine. And then we're gonna go from left to right, the opposite direction, and we're gonna make this cross, almost like a checkered set of lines on our pineapple. Okay, that looks great. Okay, so this is what you would be doing if you had maybe a white sheet of paper and a pencil. You would have been drawing this just like I showed you. If at this point you want to stop and just color your pineapple the way that you would like to with the supplies you have, go for it. From here, I'm actually going to be taking our glue and our salt. These are the supplies we're going to use next. So I'm going to take my liquid glue, and what we'll be doing is we're going to be tracing over our pineapple with our glue. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. And we are just tracing over all of these lines that we made. Okay, so there are my leaves. They're all traced. Now I'm going to go down to the base of our pineapple. And guys, if you don't have glue and you don't have the salt, then totally make your artwork your own. You can use crayons, colored pencils, markers. If you have watercolors, then go for it. Do something different from what we're doing. And I still want to see your pictures posted in the comments below. Okay, so we're almost done with the bottom of our pineapple. It's really important that all the lines we made, we trace over. Okay, so this is our last line. Great. Okay, so I've traced over all of our lines using my liquid glue, and now's the fun part. Maybe not so fun for parents, but we are going to carefully sprinkle salt over all of this. Think of it as if you were sprinkling glitter on here. We're going to sprinkle salt all over our liquid glue. And it might be a little messy, but try not to make too much of a mess. Okay. Okay. So we can't really see our pineapple anymore, but that's okay. What I've done is I've gotten a cup. There's actually already salt in here, but what I suggest is you either get a trash can or a cup like I have, and you're going to grab the outer sections of your paper and kind of make it into a ring. And I'm gonna stick my cup right here, and I'm just gonna slide all of that salt, all the extra salt, and allow it to fall down into that cup. Great. Okay, I don't suggest that you use this for cooking, but maybe keep it for another project. So all of our salt that is stuck onto our onto our glue is now ready to paint, except I do suggest that you wait about 10 to 15 minutes before you begin painting. I, however, went ahead and made another one that has been sitting for about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. And so as you can see on your paper, it might look a little bit like the glue has made your paper wet. So this will go away once it dries. So don't be alarmed if that happens to you. So what we're gonna be doing next is we're gonna be using paint or watercolor, or excuse me, food coloring. So if you have food coloring, here's what I suggest. You pick the colors you want, put a couple of drops in a cup or a bowl, and you can add a little bit of water to it. Don't add too much water or it'll be too diluted, but be careful because this will stain your clothes. But This will work just the same as watercolors if you don't have paints like I'm going to be using today. Okay? So, from here, you can do anything you want on this, on this pineapple. I'm getting some fresh water for my paintbrush, but you can use any colors you like. I think today I'm gonna just stick to the traditional yellow and green pineapple. So here we go. So when you're painting these, you have to be careful not to rub your salt, okay? Because it will start to smudge. So what I'm doing is I'm getting my paintbrush wet, I'm getting my yellow in there, really wet paintbrush, and then I'm dabbing it, okay? What we want is for this salt to just get saturated with the color that you have on your brush, okay? Okay, so I want to do an experiment. So if you have, if you have some yellow watercolors, then grab a bowl, put a little bit in there, and then I'm gonna add some water to it, and we're gonna see what effect this will give versus the watercolors that I'm using. Okay, so just mixed up some food coloring with water, and let's see. Oh, okay, so it's turning it a little bit more orange. Let's see if we add a little bit more water. Still a little bit more orange. So that's totally fine. It wasn't the effect I was hoping for, but you know what? That's totally fine. We're going to continue with the watercolors that I have, but I am totally okay with this mix of orange in there. It adds some different elements. Okay, so what I suggest is using a little bit less of the food coloring when you're diluting it in water, a little bit less. Mine is the gel, so if you have the liquid, I think that would probably go a little bit better for you. But if you have some watercolors at home, and do what I'm doing with this, I kind of like the orange in there. I may actually do some down here. It doesn't have to be the traditional yellow. I like it. It's adding some dimension and some detail. Super cool. Sometimes art doesn't turn out the way you expect, and sometimes it makes it a little bit more interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna finish with my yellow. Remember, we're just dabbing it, we're not rubbing this, because the salt is still kind of loose. We don't want it to come completely off. This is why it's important to kind of give it time to dry, because we want that salt to stay where we put it as best as it can. We will probably lose some of the salt that's on here when we move it, and I might shake it out a little bit outside, and that's okay, no biggie. Fill in a little bit of this orange. Oh, cool. Okay. Use what you have, guys. My students have also recognized whenever I'm in the art room, if we run low on watercolors, I grab a couple of dried out markers, and if you open them up and soak the insides of those markers in water for a a little while, it makes homemade watercolors, and they are really cool and awesome. It's washable, because it's washable markers. So if you have some of those laying around, use them. Okay, so I really like how the gel food coloring showed up really bright. I think that's really awesome. So now I'm gonna move on to our leaves. I'm just gonna do the same thing right here, but with a couple different shades of green, because I liked how the orange and the yellow kind of blended together. Now, I know I'm posting this on a Monday. If you watch this and you say, hey, I don't have salt or food coloring or watercolors, but I'm going to the store tomorrow, pick up your stuff and do it tomorrow. This is going to stay posted all week and beyond. So if you don't have time today, or if your child really wants to do the salt painting, then pick up salt. I think salt was like 50 cents at the store. Pick up what you have if you can, but don't worry if you can't. It's not a big deal. You can absolutely color this or paint it, do other things that I'm doing. Okay, so I have now finished my salt painting. So what I'm probably gonna do after I'm done and it's dry, I'm probably gonna go shake it out. Any of that excess salt will just fall into my yard, and then I'll let it dry for the rest of the day. So I hope you enjoyed this project with me, and I want to see all of your comments in the, your pictures in the comments below. Okay, bye guys.